Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
What up, y'all? It's Joe Budden, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. You can get up to 100 times your money.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the annual is the right word for it, right?
Yeah.
Our annual Valentine's Day episode with my boyfriend, Mats.
Hello.
Are you so excited to be here?
Stoked.
Awesome. Great. Cool.
It's the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're really excited for the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You came in like guns blaring for the second one.
Yeah.
Today,
Yeah. I mean, I felt like the first one.
you had to redeem yourself for the mouth breathing.
And it wasn't mouth breathing. It was just like I was too close to the mic.
the nose whistle.
whistling.
Yeah.
And so then what's your feeling this time? How are you going into this?
I just want to give good advice.
Okay, well, you also want to be entertaining.
Well, yeah, but good advice is inherently entertaining. Not really.
No, it's not.
Hopefully.
Bad
Both.
advice is inherently entertaining.
So I'll just give bad advice.
Don't give bad advice.
Do drugs.
Well, sometimes it's applicable.
Yeah. And just check to make
As
sure you're doing the right.
prescribed by mental health and medical professionals.
I was just going to say make sure you're doing what you think you're doing. Guys, if you're new here, this is an advice podcast. If you want to call in for an upcoming episode, come on, babe, take it away. I know you listen to all the episodes. What's the phone number?
I don't know the phone
Do you
number.
even know the area code?
310.
There we go. Because it's Los Angeles. 310-6.
There's a lot of area codes.
Is there?
Yeah.
310-694-0976 is our phone number if you want to give us a call. And if you're an international listener, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. So, are you so excited? Because I know you're, again, a huge fan of the show.
Yeah.
You have such nice ankles. I have such fat ones. Okay, let's go.
Hi, Megan. I'm just calling. First, I want to say that I love your podcast. Also, I thought it was kind of funny that I am also a Leo. My birthday is August 5th, and my boyfriend is also a Capricorn. We have also been together for over 4 years. Well, we're coming up to 4 years, but my question is, we do not live together. We've been trying to save up to buy a house for a while now. And for whatever reason, it just feels like it's so unattainable. Like something always comes up, or we'll be really good at spending money, saving money, and then something else comes up. And I just I feel very discouraged, and I know that he does too. And I feel like it's just putting a lot of distance on our relationship. We don't live very far from each other, but we both work full time. It's just, we want to be together. We want to start our lives together. He's my best friend. I love him more than anybody in the world. And we just want to start our lives together. But for some reason, it feels really hard. So I wanted to see if you have any advice on saving money and maybe trying to get the money for a house. I did move out before with a previous boyfriend, and it didn't work out. So I'm still living at home, and my boyfriend's still living at home. And I just wanted to see what advice you might have on saving money and moving out. Thank you. Love your podcast. Bye.
You guys really like set the questions for me.
No,
like, to a T.
I purposely, the last time we talked about this, about like picking questions, you were like, does anyone just have any? I like had mentioned for like Ned and stuff that I was like, oh, for Ned, we got some finance question. Like someone asked a finance question. You were like, oh, I hope we get a finance question. I mean, I think I also want to like check my privilege here in the sense that I didn't go to college, so I don't have any student loans. I don't have any debt like that. And because I started making money, and I don't want this to be a humble brag, I just want it to be like, I can't speak from like pinching pennies experience, but I didn't grow up with a ton of money, but I became financially independent when I was like 18, 19. And the thing I think about saving, and we've talked about this on our private Facebook group, we got a question talking about saving money. And I was like, the whole thing with saving money is you should feel like you're saving money. There is no cheat of being able to do everything that you want to do while still saving money. And I think that, and I even think about it now because I definitely, to be super transparent, made way more money than I do like now. Like when I was like uploading in like the golden age of YouTube and you're getting millions of views on a video and all of that sort of stuff, it's cutting back on like luxuries and things that you don't need. And I personally think that you pick one. It's not like, okay, I'm going to do all the things that I like and I'll get rid of two. I think that it should be, okay, if you like, do you want to get lash extensions? Do you want to get your nails done? Or do you want to go get massages? Is like, pick your vice. And the other thing I would say is like the small things, shop seasonally if you're grocery shopping, and making sure that you're not spending like useless money on, I don't know, like subscription apps, all of that sort of stuff, and just cutting out those things. And it should kind of suck. Like it should kind of feel like, oh, I really want to do that. And I think FOMO is a really good motivator, and not going out with your friends all of the time and spending money and doing that kind of stuff. I think those are the only things that I can speak on for like what I mean, we're saving for a house, and it's also Los Angeles. So I also wonder where you live because that will play a huge factor. But those are the things that I would like right off the bat say is it should feel like you're saving money. Like, and it should feel like kind of sucky and good at the same time. What about you, Mr. Finance Bro?
Knowing where you live would be a little bit helpful because it definitely changes the calculus and, you know, how you get to where you want to go. It also might mean that if home ownership is like the real goal, like that is the thing, then unfortunately, like you have to think like that. You might have to think about relocating. Like if you're in LA, it's so much harder than it is in a place like Nashville or Portland.
Nashville's pretty hard still now.
I mean, it's just more difficult, but without knowing that, I'll try and be like as broad as possible. One thing that a lot of people don't realize that's really easy to do is if you go into your online credit card portal or your online bank account, you can actually export your transaction history into an Excel sheet. I know most people are like, fuck that. But, you know, if you really want to like manage this, you can download it, and you can, you know, Google like a couple of easy formulas that help you like separate things by date or by like, you know, if you assign things like categories like groceries, you know, entertainment or like nights out or whatever, you can kind of sort by month, like how much you're spending on each one. And it can be a little jarring. I think like a lot of people don't necessarily realize like how much they're spending on certain categories or things each month. And once you kind of have all of that stuff delineated into like a pretty easy to navigate like summary, then you can start thinking about like what you do day to day and like where you can make like fairly easy cuts. So if I think back for myself when I was making a lot less money, you know, and looking back on how I was spending it, even like 2 years ago, I was still going out like a fair amount. I was still spending a lot on like bar tabs, you know, spending a lot on like nights out with my friends. And while I still do those things, it's much more of like a special occasion, you know, maybe like once a month, once every 2 weeks. And even then I'm like very conscious about how much I'm spending like in an actual like night out, like in a single session. The other thing that you can do is, if you, depending on who you bank with, you can actually probably set up a consultation with like a private wealth manager for free. I would say after that, they'll charge you fees on like transactions they do on your behalf and things like that. But that's really valuable. The person that I've used since I was in middle school. And it's sort of like, even though I only talk to her maybe like 4 times a year, it's pretty invaluable. Like just speaking with her like an hour each time, telling her about like what I'm thinking, like big things I want to spend money on in the future. Like, if I'm starting to make more money, she can make recommendations on like how, shout out to Donna, by the way. I think she listens to this actually.
Donna?
The last thing very particular to this caller is like, if you're both paying rent right now,
they're not. They live at home.
Oh, they're living at home. Never mind.
I think you guys need to
move in together, like as on a rental, and like if you want.
Well, that's going to save less money.
Yeah, I think they should be thinking in the mindset that they have rent and put that money into an account.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think you guys need to share your expenses with each other. And then something that we got again from the Facebook group is your fun money. That's cash. You take that, you have that cash, and once that cash is gone for the month, then you have no more fun money. Are you going to start a finance podcast?
No, I'm not even close to the level of some of those people. Though listen to a lot of those too.
Hello. Okay, so I'm 22, just to reference, and I'm in my last year of college right now. So I'm kind of in a little bit of a dilemma. So I was looking up, I guess I've kind of been hooking up with this guy for a while. He was like my rebound, essentially, from my last relationship, which was like in a super nasty way. He was like cheating on me, whatever. So it was really bad. And I met this guy at work, and he's super duper sweet, and so we just kind of started hooking up, and it was honestly just like casual. And this was probably back in, I guess, a year ago in January. We were kind of on this hooking up for a while, and then last spring it kind of got a little bit more serious, and we were like taking a class together, and we worked at the same place. We would like kind of trade all our shifts around, so we were like always working together. So we just like kind of spent a lot of time together, and just because of that, like I ended up catching feelings. He's just like a really, really nice, sweet guy, whatever. And we had a conversation about it. I'm like an over communicator in relationships. I just kind of like told him that I had developed feelings for him, and he was just kind of like, well, like, do you want to date? Like, what are you thinking? And I was just kind of like, no, just where I'm at, like, just getting out of this really nasty relationship. Like, I don't think I'm ready for that, but I just want you to know this is where I'm at, which I don't know if that was like nice to do, but I just like kind of wanted to let him know. And he said that he like also had developed feelings or whatever, but he was just at a place of like where like he was about to graduate because he's a year like ahead of me, so he wasn't sure if he like wanted to get into a relationship. And I was like, that's fair, like I respect that. And so we just kind of kept hooking up, which ended up like hurting me because like obviously developed feelings. It was just kind of like kidding myself that I could continue this like friends with benefits. So anyways, and then we just like kind of kept talking through the summer, and then we hooked up again at the end of the summer, and I realized that like, oh my God, I really have feelings for this guy, and like this whole friends with benefits thing is like really hurting me. So I just kind of told him, I was like, I feel like we should stop talking for a little bit so I can like kind of heal. And he was like super nice about it. He was like, yeah, I get that, that's fine. Anyways, my birthday, which is like in December, he ended up sending me like this super long, really nice happy birthday message. It was so sweet, and we started talking again, and now I'm like, fuck, I really like you, and I really want to date you, and now I'm like at this place where like I feel like I could date him, but I don't know if like he's in that same place. He knows how I feel, so I don't know, like, should I just take what he said before as like, oh, I don't think I'm ready to date somebody, you just like respect that and move on, or should I like kind of tell him again, like, hey, listen, like, I have feelings for you and I want to do something. We live in different cities. I'm graduating soon, I moved to the same city as him, I don't know. But he's like coming up to visit where I go to school soon too, so I'm gonna see him. I don't know. We like FaceTime a lot too. The whole situation is messy. So any advice you could give, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh my God.
You are an over communicator. Not necessarily a cogent communicator, but you do communicate a lot. So kudos to you. No, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's what she needs to be told.
Yeah, succinctness.
Well, to be fair, that's not necessarily your strong suit either.
I mean, it depends on the situation. Here's the thing. I think you've done everything up to this point pretty much absolutely right.
Except still fucking him.
Yeah, well, it sounded like that stopped for a while, which was the right call. And then like you, I hate, this is such a bad word for this, but you like relapsed. Not the right word.
Into his dick.
I guess like what I would say is you shouldn't do anything if you don't know if you're going to be living in the same city in a few months.
But it also sounds like she wants permission to move to where he is.
Yeah. Well, in that case, like if I guess like to use like myself as an example, if I had like, it's not exactly the same, but if I had like emotionally chosen where I was going to go live based on like where all of my friends were going to go live, I have no idea like how that would have turned out. I would have gone and lived in New York, and I obviously probably would have never met Megan, which wouldn't have been good.
No, would have been bad.
But I mean, aside from that, like, I have no idea if like my, like, would that have been worse for my career or like all of these things.
Or who you would have been.
Yeah, or exactly. So I don't think like someone that you have feelings for in college should be the thing that's like dictating where you move. Especially if it's like, if you guys are going to college together in like, I don't know, Miami or something like that, and he's moving to
Akron.
Yeah, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Akron, wherever. You move and like 6 months later it blows up.
Yeah.
Like, that is not good for you. So I would kind of, let things ride and like hold it as a happy memory. And if it works out.
Well, let things ride implies that like continue to ride the dick.
That's not what I'm saying. Sorry. Like I would
like cut your losses and peace out.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I would say. Not that your advice wasn't great. I agree with what you said. But I think if he really, really, really liked you and wanted to date you, he would.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like he's that far away.
No. And also so you're the first time you didn't go into telling him that you had feelings for him with being like, I don't want to be in a relationship or anything like that. You just told him that you had feelings for him, which again, I think that's the right call. As we always say, like, just say the feelings because you feel them, not because you need something in response or you only feel a certain way if they feel a certain way. So you did everything right there. And then, but his response of being like, well, I like you too, but like, do you want to date? That to me is, I hate to say it, but it doesn't like you that much, because I think then it would be like, I really like you. I really want to date you. But I'm obviously all for like finding out what the other person wants to do and like, consent to relationships and all of that. But you saying like, oh no, not really. I think that was a really nice move for him to kind of give you some sort of power and feeling like that's not what you wanted to do. But I think if that's truly what you didn't want to do, you would have started a conversation with, I don't want a relationship or anything like that. And then you would have said how you felt, because I think that for him, like, he obviously cares about you. I just don't think either of you like each other enough. Mm-hmm. And I think the friends with benefits thing we talk about, it's tricky because you already like that person as a friend. Like, you really like who they are, and then you start sleeping with them and it becomes like a relationship because like it's someone who you're friends with, who you're fucking. And I think
she was seeing all the time because they worked together, they had class together.
Like it becomes more than like, that's like a friends with benefits, but more like that's like a rom-com sort of thing. Like you're sleeping with one of your like best friends. And it doesn't sound like either of you were really dating other people. And that fills the spot.
We don't know that. He may have been dating other people.
Yeah, no, valid. But I think it kind of fills that sort of like spot for you. And I think if things had continued on, if he really had feelings for you the same way that you have feelings for him, I think it wouldn't need to, I don't think you would need to bring it up again. I think it would be something that would get brought up naturally. And because you were the one who came forward with your feelings first. Because I think if he was the one who said it first and you shut him down, then yeah, he probably would feel uncomfortable kind of taking that step and then being like, hey, just to reassess. But you already did that. So I think he knows that he could come to you if he wanted a relationship again. So I don't think I think if you need to tell him one more time because you need like no stone left unturned, you want to try that. But I don't necessarily know if you're going to get the answer that you want. And if that's going to be more crushing, I would just kind of, I don't know, walk away.
Safe bet that a 23-year-old guy living in a new city without a real relationship that he has a responsibility towards, he's definitely, at the very least, like gone on other dates. Which I don't know how you would feel about that. I'm guessing that like you don't feel great about that. However, it's totally fine that he was probably doing that. He's not in a relationship with you. But if you're kind of like coming at this from the assumption that he's been like waiting for you to like be ready, I think that's a bad assumption. And you need to like think about how that would make you feel. And if you do decide to like come clean with him, there's a pretty good chance that like he'll be like, oh, I'm enjoying dating, or like I'm enjoying being single, or I've met somebody. You'll have like an answer you need to like just start making decisions like separate from, this situation. But you're probably going to be pretty upset. So.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the reason why he didn't want to. He was moving, and he's still moving. So I don't think that really changes that. And also, like we said, moving to a new place with like starting in a relationship, like new city, all of that sort of stuff. I think if anything, you guys stay friends, date other people, and who knows? Like you guys might end up together later. But I just don't think the timing for this is right. And I don't think no matter how much you really like someone, you can't change that sort of timing. And I think if you push it too hard, you could it could mean that you wouldn't have something later down the line.
If you guys start dating and you move to another city for like work, like you will regret it.
Yeah.
It like inherently hampers your experience of like moving to a new place.
Yeah, we've had so many episodes like that.
So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Should we go on to the next?
I am 20 years old and I am in a long distance relationship with a guy that I met last year in college. And he has graduated and has a full-time job. And overall, things are going really well. We've been dating for like a year and 2 months about now. And just lately, I've been thinking a lot about the way that we have different opinions about things, and a lot of them seem like small things, but then like if I think about it enough, it seems like it could end up being a big deal, and I just don't really know how to approach a lot of it, especially since we're long distance. But specifically, we have had conversations numerous times about how we kind of have different opinions on what it means to be supportive. And basically, I think that if you are dating or friends with someone or just, any loved one, you should support them, even if you don't maybe agree with everything they're doing. If you're all adults, then I think the adult thing to do is to just support your loved ones. And he seems to think that if he strongly disagrees with something that someone else thinks or does, then that means that he shouldn't support them. And I just feel very conflicted about it. And it kind of confuses me, and it makes me feel like maybe I'm not always going to have his support, which kind of sucks to think about, since I want him to be my partner for a really long time. So I guess I'm kind of just asking for opinions. Does it seem like maybe he's being unreasonable, which I think he is, or am I? I don't know. It bothers me that he thinks that there are certain situations where he might not have to give me his support unconditionally.
Wow, you're calling into I'm pretty sure a whole room of people who agree with your boyfriend.
Do you want our opinion?
Well, that's what she calls.
But did she really?
Go in.
Here's the thing.
Sir, do you understand the fucking premise of this podcast?
I do understand the premise of the podcast, but I also understand that like there's a psychological trick that
that's
people,
not my problem.
That people, I know it's not your problem.
Not my problem.
You're going to agree with what I'm about to say. There's a psychological trick that people pull on themselves in which they will like reach out to a resource that confirms the way that they think, and I 100% think that's what she's doing.
Welcome to our podcast. So nice to have you here.
But
no, that's what I mean. Like, this is what people all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And it's our job to tell you that you're wrong. This is so, I'm so sorry if you never listen to the podcast ever again, but I think this is so off base. I don't think that, and I don't even necessarily think that you realize like what you're necessarily saying, because okay, let's say, and I mean, this has happened with everyone before. Like your friend is a raging alcoholic. You don't support them in continuing to be a raging alcoholic. Like that's not like you support them as a friend and as a person, but you don't necessarily need to support someone's decisions. And I think that's what you need to differentiate between. Your boyfriend can support you, but that doesn't mean he supports every decision that you make, because sometimes you make dumb shit. You do stupid shit. And if your partner is like, I support that decision, that's a great idea, then inherently they're not supporting you. They're supporting like bad choices and things that don't actually assist or aid you or help you along your life. It's the same thing. Like you don't support a racist. Like there's all of these things like, and I think if you want to, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. You can disagree on something, and like we'll disagree we'll disagree on stuff like that all the time. And I think that's fine and valid, but I think the people who care about you the most are going to call you out when they say that when they see something and they don't think it's the right choice or move to make. But your partner shouldn't, they should unconditionally love you, but I don't think they should support every decision that you make, because I think
it's enabling.
Yeah. And it's so like, what do you want in a, like, I don't know, that's just kind of like a sidekick. Like you just want a hype man. You don't want someone who's going to necessarily like not even just coexist, but collaborate with you and have that back and forth and that kind of discussion. And in turn, the same thing, like what if one day you guys are married, let's say, and if he decided that he's like, you know what, I've decided that I want to give all of my money away and I want to live in an RV. And you're supposed to support him unconditionally, because then it's attached to you. Do you want to do you want to get rid of all of your money and live in an RV? Or if he decides, hey, I want to start murdering people, and you're like, great, cool, let me grab the fucking shovel, dude. Yeah. Like you don't. And even in like smaller things, like, hey, I want to put 50% of our income towards lottery tickets. And like, are you supposed to support that unconditionally? Or if he's like, hey, I want to rob a bank. There's all of these different things. But if you think about even your friends, like if your friend's like, hey, I want to start, I don't know, beating people up for the fun of it. I want to start doing anything that's just not cool. Like, no, you don't support people that like in bad decisions. You can support them through the good decisions, but I think it's not controlling them and telling them like, oh, you can't do that. But like if they ask for your honest advice and your honest opinion, give it.
Yeah. I mean, you,
like, do you make perfect decisions all of the time? Like, what would happen if it was just like, yeah, go ahead, do it.
You said it very well. You kind of, the RV example is kind of like what I was going to say. I was going to say, what if you guys got married and then he was like a lawyer or something. And then he was like, actually, I want to go out and spend 6 years getting my PhD in philosophy. And so I can get a $30,000 a year adjunct teaching job at a community college. Like, are you ride or die?
She's listening to too many rap songs. She wants a ride or die. Bonnie Clyde. That's what you, Bonnie and Clyde. That's what you want.
Yeah. I'm going to be really harsh. I think your way of thinking is inherently self-centered.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Denver. There are people in my life, just to use like a very like timely example, that are Republicans. I do not support them. I love them. I support them in other things that they do in their life, in some of like the business decisions they've made and like have asked me for advice about, in some of like the personal decisions they made about like, you know, oh, should I, you know, I'm thinking about asking this person to marry me, or we're thinking about having a kid. I support them in that. I do not support them inherently in their political beliefs. I've told them that. Has not changed our relationship. It's changed our relationship a little bit, but it hasn't materially changed our relationship. But they know I do not support that portion of their life. And they are responsible enough and rational enough to realize that because I do not support them in that doesn't make me a bad actor in their life. Like that, because of that one thing or two things that I don't support them on, I'm therefore like a bad person, or like I'm out to like ruin their life. That kind of sounds like what your definition of support is. And like, you really need to reassess that, because it is, if you are only going to look for people in your life, or you're only going to have people in your life that support every single decision you make, no matter how bad, or every single opinion you have, no matter how misplaced, you're going to be very lonely, or you're going to live in a fantasy land that is going to get broken in a very like unsympathetic and merciless way.
Yeah.
So,
you can't surround yourself with only yes men and like yes people. Like it just doesn't work. But I also think like it's healthy debate and discussion is fine when it comes to certain things. But I think you also, I take it back to my first point. I don't think I'm really hoping that your definition of like support unconditionally, you're not thinking in this big picture. And like now that we're saying this, you're like, oh, well, no, that totally makes sense. But if your boyfriend's highly critical, if he's like, if you want to get your nose pierced, he's like, no, don't do that. There are certain choices that are all you. And if he's giving you unsolicited advice and like negative opinions and all of that sort of stuff, he's not supporting you wanting to like pick up a new hobby or supporting you having your own friends and stuff like that. There's all of those different things that I'm hoping that's what you're thinking more of. And in that case, if he's not supporting like your happiness and that sort of stuff, then I think that that's definitely some things you should evaluate. But in the same way, if your friend was in an abusive relationship, you wouldn't support the relationship. You'd support your friend. And you might even support those two people individually and wanting the abuser to get help and figure out what's going on with them and changing their ways. And you support your friend who's going through it, but you don't support the relationship. You're not aiding in that kind of bad behavior. But I would just have a bigger conversation with him about that, because I think you guys are probably on the same page, but I don't think you're communicating well. And if you're not, then you must have parents who told you were great 24/7 every single day and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, I think it's going to be a harsh fucking reality when you realize that that's not how the world works. Like not only it's not how relationships work, it's just not how the world works at all. It's not built to fulfill that system of yes, 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 everything you do is perfect and right all of the time. And then also, like, are you just gonna, like, I always think about it in the sense of, if you are perfect exactly how you are now, then, like, what, you just downhill from here? Like, do you get worse, or, like, are you just done? Like, that's so boring.
Well, from personal experience, I've just elevated.
Well,
so,
I mean,
No, well, like,
you've ascended.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, if what you're talking about is, like, if you went to, if you FaceTime with your boyfriend, you're like, I want to volunteer at a women's support group. And he was like, oh,
fuck
don't do that. I don't want you to talk to other women. Then, like, you should not listen to him. But if your ability to, like, distinguish between good opinions and bad opinions, and, like, good advice and bad advice, like, is materially, like, diminished if you don't want to hear other opinions. So, like,
how do you listen to our podcast?
So, like, if you have a job, right, with a supervisor, it's likely that a supervisor is going to be like, yeah, I don't think, like, you did that perfectly. Can you try again? Or I think you need to do this a little bit more. Are you just going to be like, well, this person's not supportive in my life. Like, I fucking quit. Like, no. Then you're going to go to another job. Maybe. And the same thing's going to happen. So, like,
maybe that's what she's doing. And he's like, not supportive of that.
Learn a little objectivity. I think
you're not perfect at all. And nobody is. And the people closest to you are the ones who should be the ones who are calling you out on it. It shouldn't be like the strangers. That's the people you should trust the most to give you an honest opinion.
Yeah.
Let us know what happens if you ever listen to the podcast again.
You may have just lost a listener.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Next call.
Hi, guys. We're back from our break. Now we're getting into it.
Okay.
When I say so.
Hi, Megan, Melissa, and guest. I was just calling for some advice, just some relationship advice. So me and my boyfriend have been dating for about 3 years. We are sophomores in college, and basically my question is, he recently has brought up to me that he has wanted to try like psychedelics or shrooms. And just a little backstory, he doesn't really do drugs or anything. I mean, he does smoke sometimes, and he drinks, and I don't really. I mean, I have never smoked, and I mean, I've occasionally drank, but it's not really my scene. But I mean, I've never had a problem with it in our relationship because it's just something that's fine with me as long as it's not interfering. But with this, I don't know why, but it feels different. And I'm trying to keep an open mind about it, but basically my question is if I'm crazy for not wanting him to do it. I pretty much told him that I didn't want to, and he agreed. Like, he wasn't just going to do it knowing that I didn't want him to. But obviously he was kind of not sad, but, disappointed. So like, obviously I don't want to be controlling. Like, that's just not what our relationship is about. But I don't know. I feel like I'm just wondering if like saying that he shouldn't do it is a good thing to do. I don't know. I kind of feel controlling, and I've asked my friends about it, and they say it's fine. They say they do the same thing, but then again, they kind of have the same lifestyle as me, so it's kind of understandable that they'd kind of have the same take. So I was just wondering your guys' take on it.
Well, all you can control is the fact that you can tell him how you feel.
But did he ask you how you feel?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think like it's your right to say, I don't think this is a good idea. I hope that you don't do them. And the other thing you control is if he doesn't listen to you, and he does like drop acid or like
shrooms.
do shrooms or whatever. you can say, and he's like, oh, I want to keep doing this. You can say, look, I'm not comfortable with that, and maybe we should take a break, or maybe we shouldn't see each other anymore. You shouldn't have to alter when it comes to something like this. Like this isn't like something that you necessarily need to feel accommodating of. Like you can't control like what he's gonna do, but like you can control like how you deal with it. Because look, like in the event that like you're like, oh, whatever, like it should be fine. Just as someone that has seen this, and he goes out and he drops acid, and then he like freaks out and like breaks all your shit, or like you're taking care of him, like that'll be pretty annoying. And like you could have, and it would feel more annoying if you had been like, oh yeah, no, I get it, like it's just like YOLO, like cool, like do your thing.
She doesn't sound like a YOLO.
Yeah, that said, like you just have to reconcile with the fact that he might do it anyway.
We have very different takes on this. I think controversial opinion. I think it is a little controlling. If someone doesn't ask, hey, he wants like so I can go do this shit. I think if he
too old for that shit.
Well, so that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You're like 20.
This is the time to experiment. This is when you're a sophomore in college, all of that sort of stuff. I think at this point now, if you were like, hey, I really want to go. First of all, if you were like, hey, I want to go to fucking Burning Man and like have an experience.
Oh man, perfect segue. So
shut the fuck up. So here's what I'll say though. I want to hear it.
You want to hear my pitch? Like,
you talk so slow.
I have these awesome patent leather like Colonel General hats that we can both wear.
I thought you were
we can finally match.
She's assless chaps.
I thought you was going to say
That's what I thought so too.
Okay. My just like quick tangent.
Fine.
My favorite.
It won't be quick.
My favorite subgenre of Instagram posts that I see are like young entertainment professionals that go to Burning Man like 1 week a year, and they're like, this is what it's all about. And it's like, for sure.
This is not the advice that you're going to get from anybody else or the take you'll get from like an actual professional. But I rank drugs. I rank drugs in order of like consequences and side effects and addiction and all of that stuff. And psychedelics are just above weed. If it's not coke, it's not. I think that it also makes sense. If it's not a drug that ended up in the beginning sequence of CSI with a girl face down in a pool dead, then it's not as scary to me. And so, but I also think about it in age terms. And so at this point, as I'm like a 26-year-old, if you were about to be like, hey, I want to go out and like go do like a bunch of fucking coke with my friends, I'd be like, yeah, I don't support that. So if that's what you want to do, that's not the kind of that's not who I want to be with. I'm out. But I'm not going to be like, you can't do that. But being curious is totally valid and it's very fair. It's okay to be curious with drinking. It's okay to be curious about drugs and all of that stuff. And the only the time that you get a really big issue there is if you don't have a lot of awareness and education around it. And that's how you can end up putting yourself in a really unsafe situation, not being with the right people when you're taking it, not taking the right amount of something, and not knowing the side effects, or being like, hey, do I have any history of schizophrenia in my family? Then I should stay away from psychedelics. Like that should be something that I shouldn't really partake in. Or if I have a family history of addiction, I'm going to let my doctor know before I get a prescription from getting my wisdom teeth out and I'm getting like Oxy, and I'm going to ask for something that's far less addictive painkiller. So that but if it's just like a big no sort of thing, that's how I think really sketchy and bad stuff can kind of happen. And I mean, I've done drugs. And I think about like, I think but the older that I got, and I definitely like I don't do like hardcore. I dabbled in a party drug every once in a while, and every once in a while I mean like 3 times, three occasions, like 3 weekends. I was safe about it, and I think about it, if I had done that And if I hadn't had like friends or people I could like turn to or feel like I had some knowledge about it, I probably could have taken some really fucked up shit. And it could have been like a big mistake. And I think the fact that he's talking to you about it, I think if he asks your opinion, you can be like, I mean, honestly, it's not my ideal circumstance. Like, but if that's something that you want to do, as long as that you're safe about it, I know where you are, you have like a plan for everything, then like go ahead, kind of just like do what you're going to do. But if someone who wants to experiment with drugs isn't isn't who you want to be with, it's not about changing him. I think it's about then knowing like, okay, cool, this is not the relationship for me. So that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to say. So I think like what we're both saying like fits together.
Yeah. Hi, Megan. I'm 22 and I'm pretty new to the dating and sex stuff. So the guy I'm with right now is really into orgies, and I don't really mind that. He can do it on his own time. But he's also really into watching me having sex with someone else. He asked me if I had any sex tapes. And right now he asked me if I can have sex with someone else and tape it for him. So I don't really know what should I do. I told him it's not really my thing. I told him like I'm not really down to it. But should I keep seeing him? Or is he better off with someone who's down to do those things with him?
I'm picturing her like the tiniest. Damn. She's Thumbelina. Yeah. She's Thumbelina, and she's with
a cuck. That's what he is. Yeah.
Apparently not. Apparently he's like some weird like cuck orgy like dom hybrid.
He's multifaceted.
Yeah.
For someone who's not that sexually experienced,
I mean, you talk about a trial by fire.
What's the guy from 50 Shades of Grey? Christian Grey. That's essentially what you're walking into.
I find it so fascinating when like these two types of people meet, because I feel like it happens like so much more than you think, you know? Like, oh, I don't have that much experience. Then like
literally the plot of 50 Shades of Grey.
And then like, you know, the checkout person at Urban Outfitters they have a crush on is like, yeah, by the way, like, you know, I like to have sex with like 8 or 9 people every weekend together.
Also, being like not kink shaming at all, but like that just like logistically being into orgies of all the things to be into. There's so many moving pieces. Like you have to really plan and find all. That's what I mean. You have to find all of those people. Like that's not an easy one to have.
I don't know. What's like the what's the number definition of like an orgy?
4? I think 4 because a threesome 3, and then anything after 3, that's an orgy.
My mind goes to 8 though.
I mean, I can.
But that's like a.
Put it this way. I'm a big
gangbang.
I'm
we're talking on the ratio.
I'm a big golfer. Normal golf groups, 4 people, right? And we have like a standing group. We struggle to get together to go golfing every weekend, and we have a standing like.
But maybe you guys would be more proactive if there was sex involved.
There's like dick involved.
Maybe if you guys knew you were gonna get your prostate tickled, you'd show up. Maybe. I'm gonna send this to your group.
No, they're on the lookout for this. Actually, this. I just realized this is gonna come out when I'm like on a bachelor party trip with all of them, so we're all gonna like gather around the laptop. So yeah.
Okay.
Wow, getting to the caller.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. I would say like I think it's great that he's being super forthcoming with the stuff that he's into, but I think you also. It needs to be a conversation with him of being like, okay, if I'm not into this kind of stuff, and you said that you're fine with him doing whatever he wants to do and like whatever he's into, ask him, like, is this something that you're looking for in a partner or not? And I would also say you asking like, oh, should I just like move on and let him find someone else? Also, if you're not actually like that into the stuff that he's doing and going like orgies and him, all of that kind of stuff. Like if you feel like you kind of need to be like that, or you don't have a ton of experience and you like him, if it's not something you're comfortable with, that's okay. And even if you have said that you're comfortable with it, I don't want to like put ideas into your head that you're not actually, that you totally can be, but it can also be up to you that that's not something that you're into. It doesn't have to be like, okay, he wants to date someone who's like that and I'm not like that, so therefore he won't want to date me. It's okay if you want to date someone who's not into stuff like that, but I would just ask him and have a conversation with him, and yeah, don't agree to anything, and you don't sound like you are at all, which is great. Like don't agree to anything that you're not.
The kinks that he's trying to not sell you on, but like get you to participate in are kinks that could potentially like put you yourself at risk. So if he wants you to go out and find someone to have sex as a one-off and film it, that person may be a carrier of something that you don't want to. That person might be a bad actor. Like, what if you film it and then they publish it? I mean, that's a reality of like the time we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have no effect on him probably.
Yeah.
And it would have all the effect on you.
Well, this is also a kink that involves you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like, oh, hey, I really like
this. It involves you, but it's not like just the two of you trying something.
No, it's an extracurricular
together.
activity.
Yeah. So like, and I think like because you articulate it, like you've already prepared yourself for this eventuality, which is, it doesn't sound like you're comfortable with this at all. So you should probably follow Megan's advice. Say, is this something that you absolutely need right now in a relationship? Someone that's like down to try these things with you and participate in these things with you. And if he says yes, then you should be like, okay, that's great. I'm not that person. We should see other people. I'll still be your friend, but I'm not going to be your kink vehicle anymore. And I mean, you already like are beyond accommodating, like literally saying like, yeah, if he wants to participate in stuff like that on his own time, not a lot of people like you out there. So like, I guess good for you.
Also, did she say how long they've been dating? Because I'm torn in the sense of, I think if you have a deal breaker kink, and I think that's really important to discuss early on into dating somebody. And I think you should express that, because it should be something that you don't get into a relationship with someone and then kind of spring some like a very important thing on. But at the same time, I'm also wondering how long it's been, and he's brought these two things up to you. And if it is a little too early on, that this could be like a red flag. But I don't want to say it's a red flag, because I think I'm kind of,
she said that she's new to dating.
So I'm assuming it's newer.
It's probably newer.
Yeah.
Boy, what an introduction.
Yeah, I think there's the right time to bring up. I think there's a right time and a right way to bring up.
I think that this
deal
is
breakers.
something you bring up real soon, though. If you're into this,
but wouldn't you also bring it up? Is in like this is a deal breaker for me. There is, and I'm not to like treat him as like predatory at all at any point, but people fetishize women who don't have a ton of experience.
Yep.
And I don't want you to get caught up into something where someone's recognizing that and taking advantage of it. It's like, it's even if you think of like girls who aren't that young, but who look really young and who are like short and petite, that becomes like this, like it's this fetishized thing. And I don't want you to get caught up in that. So I think it's also, don't think about it. Yeah. Maybe don't think about it in terms of all of these things, but think about it like, what's your judge of his character and who he is? And like, do you trust him, him as a person before him as all of these other things? Because I think that will also give you some insight into whether or not you even want to continue to pursue all of this stuff. Well, let us know if you guys have ever participated in cucking. Very curious. What? I'm curious.
I am too.
You've got a Leo and an Aquarius here. We're like, okay, should we go on to
an update?
Yeah.
An update.
Yeah, we're going to get an update / they're asking for more advice.
I am 22 and I have actually been featured on the podcast before. At the time, I was calling about a breakup. I was in the episode with Alexi Wasser. You may or may not be glad to know that I am beyond happy now. That breakup was the best thing that ever happened to me. Since then, I moved home, I changed schools, found a program that I'm super duper passionate for, and have become like miles more confident in myself. And looking back on that relationship and also that podcast episode, I severely downplayed how toxic that relationship was and how emotionally abusive he was to me. He was very codependent and everything was my fault and he was never wrong. And I was stupid for ever thinking otherwise. So fast forward and I have met a new guy. I really didn't want to. I'm loving being single and but this guy is just like sweet, like as sweet as can be, and we get along really well, and he thinks I like the earth is on my shoulders. And it's a really, really good feeling, and I know he would never hurt me, and he knows sort of about the baggage that I have. And we've already had a couple conversations about it because I am scared to push the relationship. We were exclusive for like 8 hours. And then I sent him a big long essay about how I'm just not ready and I'm so sorry. And it's not anything you have done. It's all me. And if you're not cool with this, like, it's totally fine. And he responded with like, thanks for being honest. And like, I kind of agree. I think we're moving really fast. And so he's super like considerate and sweet and understanding, and he's great. And I don't think there's really much wrong with him, except for the fact that my family would hate him. My family's very traditional and he's very not. So that's like one thing, but that's like way down the line. But the other thing is I am loving being single and being independent. And I plan on going to therapy to like handle the trauma that I dealt with my last relationship. But in the meantime, while I'm healing, I would just really like some advice. He already knows that like I want to move slow, and I appreciate him so much for that. And I appreciate any advice you could give to someone who's just trying to heal, but also be happy and actually be selfish for once. Thank you.
No, I agree with you. It's like,
I didn't say anything. How can you agree with me?
No, what does it mean to be traditional?
Oh, yeah. Well, they can't hear that. That's what I am curious. When people say that though a lot, that there's like, oh, like I come from a really traditional background and like he's like my significant other's not. Like I have no.
He has long hair.
Like that's what I think. I have no fucking idea what that means. Do you know what I mean? Because like what's traditional?
You know what I think about? I don't know.
Is it racism? That's the part that I wonder.
No, but you know where my mind went?
What?
You know, like the fact that the House Bunny stars the lead singer from All American Rejects.
Okay, first of all, he does not star in it. He makes a 2-second cameo.
He's like the guy.
It's Colin Farrell. No, Colin Hanks.
No, but he's like,
fuck yeah.
He's like the initial.
The movie's old as hell.
I know, but the dude from like All American Rejects is like the initial guy, right?
No, he makes like literally a 30-second cameo.
No, but she's like, he's like the guy who she likes at first.
Yes. And I never even knew that it was the guy from All American Rejects until Mott's finally watched and goes, oh my God. Okay,
I just
what
think
about
about that, like it's that guy.
Oh, okay.
He's in a band. He plays bass. Oh my God. It's such like a violation of our like family mores.
Oh, but I also wonder if it's it's religious atheist. If it's like my family's really Christian and he's an atheist or something.
Yeah, he's a Bernie supporter.
Oh my God. Okay, here's what I would say. I think therapy is a really great idea. I think that's where your top priority and focus should be, is getting into therapy. Because I think through therapy, and I've learned a lot of too, is that there is no traditional way to get over trauma. And
what do you mean by traditional?
Shit,
so
good
true.
one.
That's why she's the host.
There's like, it's not this black and white sort of thing. And I think in your mind, there's a process of being like, I should be single and this is something, and you enjoy being single, but also you can have independence, and you should have independence in a relationship. Being in a relationship shouldn't mean giving up your independence. And I think because you were in such a toxic relationship before, those things kind of go hand in hand. And I think through therapy, you'll find how working through all of this is going to be, because it's going to be different for you than anyone else. And I think being communicative with this guy that you're seeing is really great. And then I would also think on, why do you like being single? What do you like about being single? Do you like dating other people? Do you like all of that stuff? Like if it is those sort of very standard, like the definition of being single, if it's that, then totally stay single. But if what you like about being single is because you're not in a controlling relationship, the new guy might not be a controlling relationship. It might be like you should still have your independence. You should still be able to hang out with your friends and do all of this sort of stuff and not feel like you're becoming a part of like an entity and like you're losing a part of yourself. So I would figure that kind of stuff out. And because, I think taking it slow in a new relationship is good regardless of what like baggage or personal stuff that you're bringing into it. Because I think starting a relationship slow, at least for me, if I don't want to say you're I'm definitely hyper paranoid of like people's intentions and how they feel about me and not getting hurt and stuff like that. And the slower that you do take it, the more confident you can be that when someone is revealing their feelings and how they really feel about you, it's because they know you. And it's because they're able to make that decision because they've spent time getting to know you and you've taken your time through all of that. And it doesn't feel triggering necessarily, but I think the more you can communicate with him is a great thing. And then I would also spend a lot of time doing stuff that you like and hobbies and hanging out with friends and all of that kind of stuff. And then if it is like dating other people, totally go for it. And he sounds like a great guy, but also like from the beginning, timing is such a huge thing. He can be a great guy, but he could also like, maybe that's not the next person you want to date. Like maybe you do want to continue to be casual and see other people. And that doesn't mean that you're missing out on the only other good guy that there is. There's a million other guys like him. And you just happen to be with someone who was awful and terrible, but that's not the norm. So I think it's smart to not rush into something else new just because it kind of like cleanses your palate from the other thing. He can be like a great guy and it can be okay if you just...
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
You just don't want to date seriously and you just want to continue to have fun and all that.
I wouldn't know, obviously, from experience, but what I would assume it feels like when you get out of a relationship that is pretty emotionally toxic and where you're kind of like the victim of a lot of that toxicity is it can be pretty I'm guessing it can be pretty discombobulating. I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. In the sense that like you say you like being single because I'm guessing like you're like, oh, I can go to the gym wearing a sports bra. Exactly. And I don't like get a text like, are you wearing a sports bra at the gym? Are guys looking at it? And it's like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, I would take a couple months and figure out like, it's not even like what you like about being single. I think that's part of it. But another way of like thinking about it is like, what do you like doing as a normal person?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's the part that you're associating relationships and like singlehood with your past relationship, which is totally valid, but that's not the norm.
Yeah, and I think that when I say 100%, I think what I'm saying is like, it can be discombobulating. Is like you literally have nothing to just like compare, or you can't discern like what it means to be just like a regular independent person in the scope of like a relationship.
The therapy term that my therapist is always, if you coming from trauma and everything like that, you question your own reality, and you question, is what I'm seeing true? Is what I'm going through? Is this normal? Is it not? Because your frame of reference and what you look back on to your association with whatever relationship it is, that was what was ingrained as normal in your brain. And then also the same thing that you said, which you called yourself, like, I can't believe I was so stupid to miss all that. Not stupid. People who are, when you get into an emotionally abusive relationship, it's, use this analogy 1,000 times, it's you put the lobster into the cold water and then you turn the heat up and you're like, how the fuck did I end up here? Like, no one walks into a relationship where like if you could see the red flags the first time, it wouldn't have happened. Like, it's manipulative. And so that becomes, you start comparing everything to it and questioning, is this one of those signs that I missed the first time around?
And fuck the last dude. That dude sucked.
Yeah. Very sucky dude. Well, happy you're out of that situation, and hell yeah, go to therapy. It's a great time. I mean, I don't want to say it's a great time. Like, it's a good time. It's not necessarily great all the time, but the outcomes are all great.
It's a blast.
Plus, our therapist told me, this kills me. She told me that I had mentioned how I didn't have a ton of friends, but I was like, I'm fine with it. And then she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm a lot. And she goes, if I wasn't your therapist, I'd be your friend.
That's all you've ever wanted. You've been talking about this for a while.
I've ever wanted. And then she gave me kinetic sand to play with. And I was playing with it in our last session. And then she's like, take that home. And I was like, no. And she goes, no, take it. And I was like, she uses it for children and me. I love her. She's the best. Okay, well, that's what we've got. Thanks, guys, so much for listening. If you want to call in for an upcoming episode, leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Please follow me on Instagram. My engagement sucks. Also follow the podcast. Don't Blonde Meme Pod. All of our socials are listed down below. If you want to listen ad-free, Stitcher Premium. And guys, please pre-order my book. It is coming out May 5th. May 5th, right? Yeah, May 5th.
It's on Amazon, right?
It's on Amazon. You can pre-order it wherever books are sold that let you pre-order. It's called You're Not Special. You can just search Megan Ranks You're Not Special or You're Not Special book. Give it a pre-order. It will make me so incredibly happy. And if you guys like this episode, please rate us. And if you want to watch it, we're on YouTube too. You can see us sit awkwardly far apart. And that's it, guys. We'll see you next time. Do you have any last words? What? He proposes on the air. I'm fucking with you.
You did say your engagement sucked, but you were talking about your engagement.
So you know what would cure my engagement sucking? Getting engaged. I'm fucking.
No, thanks for having me.
Okay, bye, guys. Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts. Camera operator Amanda Lechner. And music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests to share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.